Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on wherever you are in the world. And welcome to week number 2 of MBA Spotlight here at GMAT Club. So for those of you who joined us in week number 1, thanks for coming back. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time in week number 2, we're super excited to have you. And even more excited to have Valeria from Tuck here to give us a bit of an understanding of the MBA program over at the Tuck Business School. So before I hand over, first of all, I'm Linda. I'm the GMAT Club moderator here hosting Tuck. Other things to mention are, number 1, I know those of you who did dial in last week, you're going to hear it again. Please like this video if you do like it. If you don't, it's okay to put a thumbs down, but it just helps us to understand how we're doing in terms of delivering the content for you guys. And also please subscribe to the GMAT Club channel because it allows us to continue giving you guys great content to help you navigate your MBA application journey this coming year. Another thing to note is that we are going to be giving away some free GMAT Club quizzes and tests. So you'll see in the chat that there's been some links that have been provided. So if you want to head over there, enter your details and enter into the draw to allow yourself the chance of winning one of these quizzes and tests. Super helpful when it comes to GMAT study, which all of you know is quite a big component of the MBA application process. So I think that's everything from my side. So I'm going to quit yapping. I'll be back again after Valeria does her great presentation for a Q&A session where we can delve a bit more into questions that you guys have. So when we're doing the session, feel free to post questions in the YouTube chat. I forgot to also mention, Alina will be answering questions over on YouTube. So if you've got anything that comes to mind during the session, feel free to post it into the chat function. So I think that's me done. So without any further ado, Valeria, I'll hand it over to you. And thank you for joining us today.
Nice. No, thank you so much, Linda, for this introduction. To those of you that are entering into the raffle, good luck. As Linda mentioned, those resources are incredibly helpful. So break a leg here. And as she mentioned to my colleague, Elena Fazli from our marketing team, will be answering some of the questions too. But I'm excited to welcome you here today. I'll be sharing my presentation in just a second. It's not that long, it's under 20 minutes, so we'll leave plenty of time in the end for your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them too. For those of you that I have not the pleasure to meet yet, which I assume is many, my name is Valeria Wiens. I am Associate Director of Evaluation here at the Tuck School of Business. I've been at Tuck for almost 7 years now. I started on the career services team, so I used to run on-campus recruiting, work with all of the wonderful companies that come to recruit Tuck students, and vice versa with our students as they were approaching their interviews and company presentations and everything along those lines. And I've been admissions for the last 3. In my role, as my title says, evaluation, a lot of my focus is on meeting you through your applications, thinking through our application just to make sure that it gives us the information we need to see how you are smart, accomplished, aware, and encouraging. And I oversee our interviewing program. So I work really, really closely with our wonderful second-year students who interview candidates for admission to Tuck. So I'll follow Linda's guidance. I'll stop talking too for just a second. I will share my screen and then we'll walk through our presentation. I'm excited to share a little bit more about Tuck with you today, and I'll do my best to keep it brief and concise. I could be talking about Tuck all day. So let's see. Let me make sure that it's in full screen. I assume that you are all seeing my welcome screen. If you're not, Linda, please holler and I'll make it bigger, but I think it should be it. Okay, so as I mentioned, over the next couple of minutes, I'll just tell you a little bit more about some of the more distinctive elements of the Tuck experience and overview a lot, elaborate on our mission and just what life at Tuck might be like for you. So let's start. At Tuck, we create an immersive learning community that develops wise, decisive leaders who better the world through business. Now, let me unpack the slide just a little bit, especially those 3 words, the wise, decisive, and leaders. Wise is the functional expertise. It's the analytical skills. It's really the empathy to understand and work effectively with and through others. Now, the second word, decisive, means making the right decisions, right? As it sounds like, it's seizing the opportunities and it's confidently understanding when and how to take risk for the better. And then the last of those 3 words, leaders, it's having the ability to craft a compelling vision, for the future and guide the execution of this vision with and through other people. Now, what are the elements of the Tuck experience that will allow you to grow and will provide you the platform to develop into this wise, decisive leader? Well, for one, as a student, you will contribute in and out of the classroom, really. We've deliberately designed the academic experience at Tuck to stretch you beyond your limits, right? The comprehensive first-year core curriculum will provide you with a very rigorous foundation in all of the essential aspects of business. And both think of it as in quantitative skills, right? Like marketing, accounting, strategy, operations, but also the softer, the interpersonal skills like communication and leadership. And then in your second year and towards the end of your first year, you will be able to build and customize the program to meet your particular interests through a collection of electives, through opportunities for independent study, right? And that's just a small portion of the learning that will be happening at Tuck. You can further your exploration through and knowledge through our centers and by extension, fellowships, research, and different events, right? So there's a lot going on there academically. And of course, key to this learning and key to this academic experience will be learning from our exceptional faculty. They are skilled scholars whose ideas shape both the business theory and practice. But at Tuck, especially more than that, they're dedicated teachers. They bring their knowledge into the classroom, and this very, very personal interaction with the faculty is a distinction of learning at Tuck, and it's really enhanced by our scale, right? We do not have a PhD program. We do not have a part-time program. We offer the one full-time 2-year MBA program. So all of the resources that we have at Tuck and the faculty's attention and their passion for teaching is really focused exclusively on you, the full-time MBA student, and your learning. Now, learning at Tuck is dynamic out of the classroom as well. There are multiple opportunities for experiential learning, that will let you take what you have learned in the classroom and really apply it to real world business challenges, right? You will be able to put into practice what you have learned. You will learn to ask the right questions. You will learn to build the right teams. You will learn to take the right risk to create impact. And this approach to experiential learning is something that will hopefully shift your perspective and will allow you to put what you have learned in the classroom, both in the core curriculum, in the elective classes, or through other academic opportunities. You will take that and you will be able to put it into practice. Now, I think one great example of this is our first year project, or as some of you might know it as an FYP. Right now, many schools have capstone projects. What makes ours at Tuck different is the flexibility that students have to customize their experience, right? The experience they have in electing the projects that they work on. At Tuck, you can choose your project and you can choose your team. You can opt for a client-sponsored project or an entrepreneurial venture that you create from scratch and build together with your classmates. It can be local, it can be national, it can be global. It can be with a Fortune 100 company, it can be with an early stage startup. I think you get where I'm going. It's really up to you to select and design and dive into experience that you want, right? It's yours to customize entirely. And so if there's a particular industry that you want to get experience with or explore, this could be a great venue for you to do so, right? Incredibly great opportunity for somebody who is potentially looking to make a career pivot or just to learn and stretch. Now, to switch gears just a little bit. I've talked about learning. Now let's take a closer look at our community, something that I think makes us special. If you've talked to anyone about Tuck, you've probably heard about the close-knit community or the Tuck fabric. The essence of what distinguishes Tuck is our collaborative, really trust-based community. As a student, you will be expected to contribute to as much to the experience as you get from it. And so in this environment, there really isn't any self-selective of who you work with. You'll have to work across differences. Study groups spend hours upon hours helping each other learn the material and prepare for class. From living and learning together in this immersive environment, the students will develop a very deep level of trust with each other. And if you think of it, when you trust your classmates, that's the time when you will feel safe to stretch yourself, where you will step out of your comfort zone, when you will be okay to take risks because you know that all of you are in the same boat. Now, those of you that have done some research on Tuck, you have probably heard about tribal hockey. To me, that's a great example of this, right? It's an extracurricular activity. People do it for fun. But most of the students who come here have never played hockey before. Many of them never stood up on the ice before, so it's really new to them. And yet there you are with your classmates, all of you doing the same thing, not afraid to make a fool of yourself because you know that your classmates are there to pick you up and help you along the way and laugh together with you and just be there to cheer you on. So as you can see, that's really the time where you can step outside of your comfort zone because you feel okay doing that because you know that there's a supportive community standing right behind you. Now, this intentional community is integrally tied to Tuck's location and scale, two things I haven't mentioned yet. First, you will be stepping away from your career for 2 years, right? And investing an incredible amount of resources to obtain your MBA. Now, I think that you owe it to yourself to be all in. You owe it to yourself to fully commit to this experience and try to get the most out of it. Now, Tuck's location is free from the distractions of a big city. It allows you to immerse yourself. It allows you to fully focus on both learning, but also forging those relationships with the faculty, with staff, with your classmates, getting to know everyone around you better and building this entirely new network. Because we're a small town, students don't scatter after class. They all live on campus or nearby, and they remain together throughout the day and into the evening. Now, let me say this. No one, or almost no one, is from Hanover, right? So you all will be coming here in a similar situation. You will all be leaving your networks behind, geographically speaking, and getting here to build those new connections. And our location, Hanover, will really allow you to do this. It's very conducive to meeting new people, for growing, and for forging those relationships. Now, this small and focused and personalized approach goes for the career services team as well. Of course, one big part of the MBA is the opportunity to advance or change your career. Many students arrive in Hanover with a very clear vision of what they want to get out of their MBA and what opportunities they want to pursue once they graduate. Yet some others are really interested in exploring different career paths. And so whether you're focused on a particular career trajectory or if you are here to discover your path and explore a path that you haven't considered, career advisors will provide you with the tools and resources that you need to succeed. They will work very, very closely with you one-on-one. You don't need to limit the number of times you meet with them. They will start working with you from the time you get admitted. Right now, it's the summer, so students joining us as members of the T23 class, most of them have already spoken at least once with a career coach. They're already working on their resumes. They're already thinking about the companies that interest them. So that relationship building starts really, really early with the career services team too. And the outcomes really speak for themselves. If you take a look, for the last several years, our graduates have achieved employment levels and compensations that are among the highest of the top MBA programs. It's not just the career coaches, though, that will help you along the way. Tuck's famously responsive alumni network plays a really big part in the career services. That supportive community that we spoke about, the students, both first-year students as your classmates and second-year students, they will be helping you along the way. Once they graduate, and those that have graduated before you, they will keep helping you once they leave campus, just because they're paying it forward, right? Tuck alums, they remain engaged with the school and with each other and with the students for life. That's why it's been rated, and I'll dive into the next slide here, that's why it's been rated as the most effective and engaged among top MBA programs. Our graduates are accomplished leaders of business, government, and society. Yet, even at the highest level, they remain engaged, they remain responsive, they remain accessible to not only those of us who work and talk, but really to the students. They show up in the summer to our presentations. Those of you that will sign up for any of our info sessions, you will see that we'll have alumni in the room with us, helping us answer questions and eager to share their experiences. They will take your calls. They will provide you with feedback. They will help you conduct mock interviews and different sessions and just be there as resources and to chat and to tell you more about Tuck, about their experiences, about how much the school has given them, and they will be trying to pay it forward to you, right? So it's really the alumni network that strongly differentiates us, and it's something that you will probably start experiencing when you learn about our school, if you reach out to any of them for advice or guidance, and you will keep seeing that as a student, and even more so after you graduate. So I could not speak more highly about our alumni from so many personal experiences and from what I'm hearing from our students and seeing every day around us. So as I'm wrapping up, hopefully this has given you a small taste of what makes the Tuck experience distinctive. And I hope that I help you envision a little bit about how can Tuck help you achieve your personal and professional goals. Now, you've probably noticed that I have not talked about the admissions process, and that is by design. For one, our mission today for the presentation part of the session is really to share more about Tuck, is to share about this distinctive experience and to provide you a platform from which you can start building and envisioning and seeing you here. And I hope that you'll continue the conversations through many conversations and chats like this one, through any of the events that we have coming up in the summer. Engage with us, engage with our students. Yet, as you navigate your path to Tuck, I know that you are navigating your path through the MBA application process as well, which is why we have the second part of the session, less focused on the presentation and more focused on the questions that you have. So I'll do my best to answer them, but in the meantime, please do stay engaged and stay here with us. So I think I stopped sharing my presentation. Linda, correct me if I didn't.
Yes, you have. Yes, Valeria.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for the super presentation. And completely agree. I think when it definitely comes to MBA applications, it's all about finding the school that resonates with you. So thanks for taking the time to really get prospective students to offer up their questions and to address any concerns or questions.
Of course. Thank you.
So at that, guys, we're going to jump into the Q&A session. So thanks a lot, Alina, for answering the questions on YouTube. It's been super beneficial. I'm going to work my way from the bottom up because I appreciate that you've been working your way from the top down. So I'm going to be bringing up questions, Valeria, that have been pre-submitted on GMAT Club, as well as the ones that we've been getting through the YouTube chat function. So I should note as well, as always, we probably won't be able to get through all the questions, but I know that you're hosting a Zoom session at 10 a.m. Pacific. So if there's any questions that anyone has, feel free to dial into that call and get them addressed there.
Sounds good. And what a great problem to have, right? Working through questions top down and bottom up. So thank you all for submitting so many questions.
Exactly. So I'll kick off with a pre-submitted one. How does the round 1 and round 2 application process or admissions differ? Is there a difference? I know they want to keep it away from the application process, but I guess people always have questions relating to that.
No, it's okay. I empathize. To be admitted to Tuck, you need to apply first. So I absolutely understand why you have question about the application process or admission process. Application process does not differ much. It's really, we don't change our criteria from round to round. So at Tuck, we look for candidates who are smart, accomplished, aware, and encouraging. And so whether you apply in round 1 or round 2 or round 3, or you submit your application through the consortium, the criteria are still the same. So we'll still be looking for students that meet those 4 admissions criteria, and we'll be looking at your application, trying to find evidence of those 4 criteria. Now, for us, as we assess applications and as we read them, even us as readers, we take notes specifically bucketed to mirror those criteria. So what we tell you we're looking for, that's how we take notes in our application too. So if I read your application and I see evidence that you are smart, I will record it in the smart window that I have open as I'm reading, right? So really, really closely mirrors it. And there is absolutely no difference between the rounds that you're applying. We're looking for the same thing. Our criteria have not changed in a while. So you can look up on our site if you want to find further details of what it is specifically that we're looking at in those areas. Now, the admissions process is very, very similar too. Regardless of whether you apply in round 1 or round 2, we're looking to build the strongest class. So our readers, when they start reading applications, we specifically don't look, and we don't get access to neither as officers to the remote reading team from how many people applied from what industry or what country, right? And we're doing this on purpose because we want to focus on you and your application specifically. So it's the same for us, whether you apply in round 2 or round 1, your application will be read by the same people. And we will be making those decisions based on our criteria and not based on where we think you might be stacking up against candidates that are applying in round 1 or round 2 or round 3 later on. So the process is similar. And then once you're admitted, since the second part of the question is the admissions differ. Once you're admitted, it's very similar too. You will start hearing from our students, from staff members, from our alumni, as I mentioned in the presentation, welcome you to the class and giving you the resources that you need to hopefully envision yourself at Tuck.
Thank you so much, Valeria. The next question actually that had come through was actually linked to that one. It was someone who was speaking of a particular situation and was asking about being ranked in a particular pool. But I guess you've addressed that in that question, which is focus on the applicant as opposed to
don't. Yes, I'm happy to clarify or dive into it further because that's the question that we get every year. So I understand that it's on many people's minds. We don't rank pools. We don't compare them against each other either. So as I'm reading the application or as my fellow officers or our readers do, we're evaluating you specifically. We're not trying to figure out what your ranking might be within a given pool because we don't look at that pool when we evaluate. When we discuss applications in committee, we don't split them by small sub-pools either, right? So we don't take everyone who's coming with a consulting background and looking just at consultants. We're looking at the pool in general, but then we're looking at the individual candidates. So there is no rankings, there's no stacking. We don't have any quotas either. It's really you based on your own individual merits.
Brilliant. Thanks for the very comprehensive answer. So another question, this person would like to know how Tuck facilitates diversity from the perspective of peer learning. So I guess how do you capture all the different perspectives in the classroom and how do you make sure that everyone's kind of like has a voice and that everyone's in the classroom?
Excellent question. I like it very much. Many different ways. So I think it starts with our class, right? As we build the class, we're looking at bringing individuals that are bringing the diversity of perspective experiences under the larger umbrella into the class. So because I think the more of it you have in the class, the richer the classroom discussion will be, the richer your learning experience will be from your peers and from your classmates. So it starts, by the time you get here, you will be broken up, or our first year class is broken up into small study groups. And those are usually groups of 6, 7. These are students that are coming from different backgrounds. And our dean sits down over the summer and very deliberately designs those study groups, specifically with the goal of having diverse backgrounds and experiences within each group. So if you're taking an accounting class, you will be working, or almost all of you will be taking an accounting class because that's part of our core. So you will be working on problems and homework together with your study group. Now, perhaps you'll have somebody in your study group who is an accountant before Tuck, so they will be able to help you further. And yet the same study group you will be working with on your marketing classes. So you will be learning from your classmates in this very small study group setting. You will be learning from your classmates in the classroom environment in general. I think in part because it's a case-based method of teaching for many of our classes, you will be actively hearing your classmates, you will be engaging in discussion with them, you will be learning from them. And then I think the last piece that tie together, specifically because the question is about peer learning, is the community that I mentioned before. We are a relatively small class, right? It's 285, 290 students. You get to know your classmates really, really well. Because of the location, you don't disperse after class. So you will be spending a lot of time with those classmates within clubs and centers and different activities. And because you get to know each other well, and because you establish those connections of trust, you will really be learning about each other on this much, much deeper level. I've been hearing a lot from the students that I work with that Tuck is a place where you can bring your whole self here. You can show up as you are, and you will be celebrated and welcome and listened to. And so that makes you much, much more comfortable to be sharing those experiences, not only within the classroom, but also in social settings and as you're talking to your peers. And because we look for candidates who are smart, we look for students who are looking to learn from others. So there's the give and take, right? You have a class who's willing to share, and you have a class who's very open to learn. So there's a lot of that in the classroom.
Ace, thank you. So we will jump to a YouTube question. So a question from Kyle, jumping back to the admissions process. Do the letters of recommendation need to be submitted by the round 1 date to be considered for round 1, or are they not a factor since they are out of the applicant's control?
That's a tough one, Kyle, because of the not a factor of being outside of applicants' control. Yes, technically the recommendations are outside of your control, and we know from candidates how it's relatively easy to manage your own deadlines, but here you're mentioning, or you're trying to manage the deadlines of your references too. So I get it. And yet the recommendations need to be submitted by the deadline. So if you're applying in round 1, they need to submit it by the round 1 deadline. If you're applying in round 2, by the round 2, etc. Now, if your recommender is running late, if they are out sick or something happens, we can give a couple of days of grace periods, and those are sort of on a case-by-case basis, but those are exceptions. So I think as you're approaching your MBA application, try to not think of the one-off exceptions, but the rule, and the rule is that you need to submit it by the deadline. So my advice is start working with them early. 1, pick the recommenders that you think not only will be able to speak to your work and how you are in a workplace and share more about your accomplishments and the how and the why behind them, but also they will be able to take time to do so, and take time to do so early. Right? I think the MBA application process is one that can be perceived as stressful. There's work that goes into it. There's preparation that goes into it. So try to take as much out of the stress out of the process as possible by connecting with your recommendations early and giving them a lot of time. I think very few people appreciate last-minute requests. And I'm not saying that you, Kyle, are going to do that. But in general, give them as much heads up as possible. If you run into issues, reach out to us, but as a general rule, yes, they're due by the deadline.
Thanks, Valeria.
Sure.
Having previously gone through the process myself, completely agreed that earlier you start, the better, because if something is out of your control, it just means you need to start a bit earlier than you would have done otherwise.
Yes.
So another pre-submitted question. This might be quite a fun one. So this potential candidate said they would want to know a bit about the social life of students at the Tuck campus and about the interaction between the other Dartmouth University students.
Social life, how can I describe it? Rich and vibrant, I guess. I think once you get here, or when people start learning about Tuck, one of the things they know that it's a remote setting or remote location. So the question arises, will I just be going to classes and going on hikes? Right? The question is no. If you talk to our students, if you talk to alumni, you will hear from them that one of the first things they had to learn here is how to say no, because you will have so many opportunities to connect with your classmates, connect with others, do fun things. that your time will start becoming your most precious resource. You will start, if you are not already, you will get good at selecting the opportunities that mean the most to you and saying no to some others. So for one, it's our clubs. I think you will engage with the clubs quite a lot once you get here, and not just the professional ones. So I'm not talking about the clubs that will help you recruit or grow your network, but the social clubs, the cultural affinity clubs, learning from others, engaging with others. The beautiful thing about Talk is that anyone can start a club. So if there's something that you think we're missing and that you would like to start, all you need is collect some signatures from your classmates, and you will get funding from the MBA programs office to start this club and to share your passion with others. And we've seen many, many amazing clubs and opportunities arise that way and get really strong traction. So I think I was going to say not to call out specific clubs, but that's exactly what I'm going to do now. But like the Future of Automotive Mobility Club, something that rose out of a student initiative, gained a lot of traction, and is doing incredibly work right now. And I keep listing off more clubs, but whatever's of interest to you, you can start it here. You can engage through the centers. You can engage with the Upper Valley. You will be traveling quite a lot when you're a student too. So not all of your social life will be here in Hanover. You will be traveling for recruiting. You will be traveling for treks. So you will be leaving the campus here and there with your classmates. Now, about the interaction between MBAs and Dartmouth College students, it's as much or as little as you want it to be. So our campus is outside of Dartmouth, right? So the buildings that we use are Tuck's buildings. The dorms are Tuck dorms. So you won't have undergraduate students in your classes. You won't have undergraduate students in your dorms or within reception spaces. And yet, if you, for example, are an entrepreneur and you want to engage with other Dartmouth entrepreneurs through the centers and through the environments that exist with our parent school, you can do so. And it's a 2-minute walk from Talk, so you'll be there really, really close by, and you can start engaging with the Dartmouth community that way. You can take classes at Dartmouth. You can work with Dartmouth undergrad through Talk mentors and other things where you work with the students. But really, the interactions are how you build them. If you want to engage with Dartmouth, there's so many opportunities to do so. If you choose to stay more on the MBA side, the campus is slightly off the Dartmouth path, as I mentioned, and you will be surrounded by your MBA classmates. So it's, I think, similar to many other things about Tuck. It's customize your own experience, customize your own adventure here.
Yeah, and like I said previously, it's what you make of it. And it sounds like Tuck really gives you that flexibility. If you want to get involved and make your own organizations and rally people around them, that you've got the opportunity to do that, which is amazing.
Thank you, Linda. I might ask to co-lead my next presentation with me.
So looking at, if you jump back to YouTube, it is hard to navigate YouTube comments, guys. So apologies if I seem a bit slow. So we've got a question from Anish about funding. If you can shed light, if you can't, we understand. So yeah. How does Tuck offer scholarships, and what is the criteria needed in order to get one?
Yeah, happy to share more about the funding side of the MBA and the scholarship process. So there's no separate application for you to be considered for a scholarship. So for example, for the T24 class, that will open the application for soon and you will start applying. Those students that are admitted in round 1, they're initially applying to Tuck. They're submitting their application. You don't need to fill out a separate form to be considered for a scholarship. Now, once we as an admissions team know what students we're admitting, we will sit down all together and look at the students that we're about to admit and see how we can award scholarships to them. Now, we don't have a firm need-based or merit-based policy. We're hybrid, so we're looking at both. Now, does that mean that if you don't get a scholarship in round 1, that's it for you? No. People can be asked to be reconsidered for a scholarship. So if you did not get one, you can speak with an admissions officer, you can send us an email, you can engage with our financial aid team, and they will put in a request for you. And we will be reconsidering those requests up until really July and August. So up until you matriculate as a class, as soon as more funds become available, we reconsider students for scholarships really on a rolling basis throughout the year. Now, we don't award all scholarships in round one. We know from experience that round two is coming as well. So there is a part of the scholarship budget that is set aside specifically for round two candidates, and they will go through that same process. So for us, we don't rank scholarship, for example, reconsideration requests. So Anish, if you get admitted and you received a scholarship, but you feel that you need a larger one to be able to make Tuck work financially, you can ask us to increase it. And so again, same as with the previous comments, the scholarship committee will sit down and the requests are not ranked. They will look at quite literally every single person that asked to be reconsidered for a scholarship, and we will look at their case. We will look at what they ask is, what is standing behind it, and can we make it work. So I hope this gives you some additional insight, and I'll make a shameless plug here. If you haven't already, take a look at our Tuck Admissions 360 blogs. We're quite active there. We're trying to be as transparent as we can about the application process, but we also talk about scholarships there. I know there's a recent blog specifically answering questions or frequently asked questions from international candidates about scholarships, or just in general about how Tuck awards funds. So if you have a few minutes, just look through it. I can almost promise that we'll give you better insight into Tuck and admissions from glancing through those blogs.
Thank you. A question that has literally just popped on from Deval was if the scholarships were need-based or merit-based, or I guess a mixture of both of them.
Yeah, we're deploying the funds to our discretion.
Okay. So a question about the technology space more particularly comes from Radhika. If you could kind of like give a bit of an insight on the opportunities in terms of internships and first year projects that a candidate looking at the technology space could be involved in.
Yes, great question. In a sector that we've been seeing growing for a number of years now, so very, very timely as well. There are different opportunities. Of course, some of those are more traditional internships, some of them with the companies that are recruiting on campus at Tuck. So these are the firms that you will know about in the summer when you get admitted, knowing that they will come to hold the company presentation, that they will be holding interviews later in the year. So quite an established pipeline. And then many other firms that might not recruit on campus, but they do recruit MBAs. So you will be engaging with those. Now, as I was talking about the career services team during the presentation, we have a wonderful colleague, Laura, who is a Tuck alum herself. She's covering the tech sector, and she is based in San Francisco, in the Bay Area. And she was based there before COVID-19. So when she joined Tuck, the career services team knew that she was joining us from San Francisco. And that was the search that they led, because they wanted somebody on the ground, right in the Bay Area, sort of boots on the ground with their pulse really on the finger of what the industry, the shifts that are moving, the shifts that are happening there, what is happening, what is sort of top of mind for recruiters, in just being right there within this ecosystem. So for years now, Laura has been working specifically with students who are looking to pursue roles in tech or potentially smaller startups, and helping them with their searches, be it by connecting them with opportunities that they might not have thought of before, connecting them with alumni, and just sharing her expertise, both from her own background as an MBA who worked in tech after Tuck, and just from working with the students over the years. So Laura will be an immense help to you in addition to your classmates. And then first year projects, they differ a little bit by year. There are several in the tech space. But if there's a company that excites you that you want to conduct a project with, you can self-source it. And every year we have many, many students that end up self-sourcing their own projects. And all you need, as I mentioned, is a project. You will work closely with the FYP team on guiding you on how to do that, but you'll recruit some of your fellow Tuck students, and you'll be well on your way there.
Thank you. That resource in Laura seems amazing, especially like you said, people wanting to go into the tech space. to have someone with the boots on the ground and who can really kind of give that insight into what it's
Yes, we were so excited when the career services team told us about it, because again, that tends to be the area where our students are looking for most. And so having somebody there was really immensely helpful. I think COVID leveled the playing field just a little bit, because all of us are remote now, but we look forward to being back in person, and to Laura being able to go and visit companies again and keep building those relationships.
So I know we have 5 more minutes left, so I'm going to try and squeeze in 2, maybe 3 questions, but maybe not over promise. What would you say makes Tuck a great school for people who are looking to change careers?
Oh, in under a couple of minutes. That's a tough one.
Maybe it'll be the last question then.
No, I'll try to keep it brief. A couple of things. One is our network. So as you're looking to shift careers, you will be trying to break into an industry that you might not be familiar with initially, that you might not have network in either. So having a career network and having a network of alumni and students that are not only there, but they're willing and open and eager to share and help you, will be an immense asset. Really, I can't repeat this enough. I think our alumni are wonderful. And so as a career shifter, as you're trying to break into an industry that's initially an unknown to you, you will need to build those connections from scratch. And I think there's no other school as Tuck that will do this as well as we do. Really, the alums will help you along the way. And you'll experience it as a student. The second one, and I'll keep this brief, I could give you many more reasons, but I think it's the curriculum, the general management. We're a general management program. So as you're looking to pivot into a career, you will have a baseline knowledge of sort of the hard and soft skills that I mentioned in your presentation, plus the elective classes. So you will leave Tuck as a generalist. You will be able to pivot into almost any industry because you will have the baseline knowledge to do so. So without having to specialize right at the start, I think you're leaving yourself many, many doors open. And recruiters and companies that hire Tuck students, they know that they're getting this sort of Swiss Army knife style of a professional that has so many tools in their toolbox that they will be able to use. And that makes the pivot much easier.
Okay, I may have lied, and then that may be the last question. I see you've got 3 minutes left, and I wanted to kind of do a quick wrap up and obviously give you space to add any last minute closing comments. So sorry for the questions that we didn't get to answer. I know there was a few pre-submitted ones that we didn't, and also ones on YouTube. But I'll take this opportunity to say that there will be a Zoom session with Tuck at 10 a.m. Pacific today. So any questions that weren't answered, please feel free to head over to that Zoom session and get a bit more detail about the questions that you want answered. So before I close the session, I guess I would like to hand over to you and say if you want to have any closing statements, Valeria.
Sounds good. No, thank you, Thank you so much, Linda, for moderating today's sessions, for helping me the questions and the helpful comments. Really, really nice to have a partner in the session today. But to those of you that are looking to or are starting to learn about Tuck, starting to learn about an MBA, as I mentioned, it's a long journey. I know it's likely more difficult when you are not able to visit the schools in person, or at least some of the schools in person, to get a better feel for them, at least now over the summer. So engage with us, engage with the programs that you're looking to join, talk with our students, connect with alumni, look at our campus, keep coming to sessions like this one to get the questions answered. Read through our criteria, read through our essay questions. It will give you a much better sense of the kind of candidates and students we look for. And I think that's probably an advice that goes for other programs too. If you're looking at them and it's something that excites you, probably it's a good fit, right? So as you're learning about Tuck, and if you feel energized and invigorated by the conversations that you're having, or by the thought that you need to put into the application and the essays, that's a good sign. That's a sign of a fit. So keep engaging with us over the summer. I think sessions like this one are wonderful. You get to learn a little bit more about the program, get the questions answered. As Linda mentioned, we have another Q&A coming up soon. So please reach out to us. We try to be as transparent as we can with our policies, with our process. We're very accessible to all of you. So reach out. We know it's a process that requires a lot of work from your end. So whatever we can do to help and to help guide you through it, we're really here for it.
Thank you so much, Valeria. I'd want all of you to join me in saying a biggest thank you to Valeria for taking the time out today to give us an insight into Tuck and the MBA program at Tuck. If you guys like me, I think it's a brilliant program. I was energized. Just the energy that came off of you, Valeria, and just the energy that surrounds the school. So thank you so much for taking the time. Like I said before, Zoom breakout session 10 a.m. Pacific, if there's any more questions you want answered. And again, I will be shameless. Please like and subscribe, or subscribe and dislike, or don't subscribe and don't like or dislike, whichever one you think fits best. But thank you so much for joining us today for the first session of week number 2 in MBA Spotlight. And I wish you a brilliant day. If you're joining us for our next session, I'll see you there. If not, enjoy the rest of your day.
Same here, and good luck with your raffles. Like, engage, enter the raffle, and have a wonderful rest of the day or evening, wherever this might find you. Excellent. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you, Valeria. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.